Are you a government contractor and don't even know it? Let's take a look at an example. A company that makes doorknobs fulfills an invoice for $10,000 worth of doorknobs for a construction company for their upcoming project. This project involves the construction of a school building. In this case, the doorknob supplier is considered a low-level COTS or commercial off-the-shelf supplier. Now, keep this in mind. Organizations are subcontractors if the products or services they perform are included in the scope of work for the prime contract. This is true whether the subcontractor is aware that its products or services are within that scope. Doorknobs are a requirement in the construction of the building, and as a supplier, it is a government subcontractor for compliance purposes. You may be thinking that you may not have any direct contracts with any governmental customer, or you only sell commercial off-the-shelf or COTS products. Perhaps you sell to multiple wholesalers, making it impossible to trace your products to a government contract. Or you are a small business, one of many in the supply chain for a product within the scope for a government contract of which you are not aware. For some government contract compliance requirements, these facts do make a difference and will insulate the organization. For others, however, they do not. Now, more than ever before, is a good time to assess your status as an organization and face the possible reality that you may, in fact, fall under the umbrella of the laws and regulations governing contractors and subcontractors providing goods or services to the government. To assist in this assessment, let's review 3 threshold compliance issues impacting the Human Resources Department and decide whether any of these may apply to your organization. The first being Equal Opportunity Employment Requirements. The Equal Opportunity Commission expects and requires every contractor or subcontractor at any tier that has received $10,000 or more in federal contracts or subcontracts in the last 12 months to submit required reports and conduct hiring and promotions in accordance with the requirements set forth in the regulations, thereby prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The second being Affirmative Action Requirements. Organizations receiving $50,000 or more in federal contracts in the last 12 months and have 50 or more employees must comply with the following 3 main affirmative action requirements. Number 1, they must prepare and follow a written affirmative action plan, or AAP. 2, they must follow job posting requirements. And 3, they must annually collect and submit employment data. There are separate affirmative action requirements for workers with disabilities in organizations receiving contracts of $15,000 or more, and veterans in organizations receiving more than $100,000 in federal or government contracts. Always keep in mind that organizations should be able to tell when they are supporting a government contract. The next one is Employment Eligibility Verification Requirement. A presidential executive order and subsequent Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR rule, require federal contractors to use E-Verify to electronically verify the employment eligibility of employees working under covered federal contracts and with a value of at least $3,000. The order and the rule reinforce federal government policy that the federal government does business only with organizations that have a legal workforce. Additional compliance obligations are also likely to apply when a business operates as a subcontractor to the government, and these requirements include such things such as Code of Business Conduct and Ethics, training and internal controls, domestic preference requirements, and there may be others, as there is an ever-changing regulatory world, and small businesses cannot afford to continue to hope that there is no trace to any possible role in government contracting. The penalties for noncompliance can be substantial, such as suspension and debarment from government contract or federal government funding. This is both for the contractor as well. State and local governments and many large corporations may refuse to do business with an organization that is on the federal government list of suspended or debarred entities, which is often considered a death sentence for organizations. So if your small business meets any of the criteria we've discussed, You may be a subcontractor, and it's time to meet regulatory requirements face to face, rather than spending the time and resources in defending a possible draining government investigation.